Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news and takeover update news show. What we'll be discussing in today's news show, well, Samuel Lapkas has come out and confirmed the striker that Ten Hag wants to sign, the midfielder that Ten Hag wants to sign, and who's number one on his list for each position. Also, news on the takeover. The games are beginning. The takeover news is kind of quiet, but it's also kind of loud. Qatar playing games, Glazers playing games. The negotiation games are beginning. We're going to debunk the rumours, get into the news. There's a story coming out saying that those, close to the Glazers, those inside United are basically saying that the Glazers have to sell. They have the minority stake offer, but because of the financials, they have to sell. It won't last long enough. A few little rumours going around that basically, although the Glazers are greedy and want a minority stake, some people close to them saying they kind of have to sell, which we'll get into what it might mean, who it's from, is it a reliable source, etc. What I think is really interesting is that this £6 billion price tag seems to be £5 billion now, which would suggest that they want Qatar to just put another 300 million in the second bid and they'll be happy with that. Maybe, if you can see on the screen, it's saying 5 billion, but it was saying 6 billion the other day. So again, very interesting stuff there. Also, news coming out that United are looking at Mason Mount. News on Harry Kane, who seems to be Ten Hag's number one target. News on Jude Bellingham. News on Frankie de Jong. Martial for sale. Eriksen injury update. News on Osimhen. News on Kudus. News on David Raya. A lot of news on transfers, which considering the transfer window isn't for another couple of months, 3 months really, and we haven't got owners sorted. There's a lot of these coming out in the transfer window, and I think that's really United are thinking and putting plans in place about what they want to do. And also more news on just cool things that Ten Hag's doing to discipline the players. But big up everybody out in the chat as well. How are you doing? Paul says don't trust these Glazers to sell, and I'm with you, Paul. Although the reliable sources are saying that full sale was most likely, and although people close to the Glazers are saying that they have to sell for financial reasons, they have to sell the full club, you just can't trust the Glazers because you know that they do not give a fuck about what we want. They always do what we don't want. And it's like, this Elliott group is awful. We do not want this Elliott hedge fund group. They will just increase the debt and work with the Glazers and take money out of the club. We do not want this Elliott hedge fund group. We want brand new owners that want to clear the debt, that want to bring United back to the top because we need to compete with Premier League rivals. And this is the worrying thing because we can't trust the Glazers at all. We're being told that, today that the Glazers have to sell, and then we'll get told tomorrow that the Glazers don't want to sell. And we get the story left, right, and centre. And it's like, okay, either the Glazers want to sell because the asking price has gone from 6 billion to 5 billion, it seems. Apparently, they have to sell for financial reasons. And the fact that the Rain Group's aim was a full sale by the end of March, and the aim has always been full sale, and that more reliable chances of the full sale is going to happen. For me, full sale, hopefully that's what happens. Qatar got a lot of money, and I'm hoping that the Glazers are just leaking these stories about a minority stake and entertaining the Elliott Group because it's just a negotiation tactic to get more out of Qatar. But you just can't trust the Glazers. There's a lot of indication that they have to sell, but we just can never trust them as well. These greedy Glazers are pissing me off. I want them out ASAP. I agree. Smash a like as well. And Bloomberg released a report today suggesting United are only worth 850 million in its current state in today's market, and the Glazers offered 4.5 billion. For God's sake, a greedy bastards. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's worth as little bit as that. But Bloomberg confirmed that Qatar offered 5 billion. Yeah, Bloomberg says that Qatar offered 5 billion. And apparently the asking price for United is 5 billion, but the Athletic is saying that Qatar offered like 4.8 billion. Do you know what the annoying thing is? Is you get a different bit of information every day. One source says that Qatar bids 4.5 billion, another source says it's 4.7 billion, another source says it's 4.8 billion, another source says it's 5 billion. I'm going to be safe, go in the middle at about 4.75 billion, and Jim Ratcliffe's probably coming in at about 4.4 billion. I think the Glazers want 6 billion, and they're setting that 6 billion price tag because they'll really take anything over 5 billion. I think they set that 6 billion price tag to see if they can get more than they want. And then they know if it just comes under, they still get what they want at 5 billion. And I do believe if Qatar up their bid a couple hundred million, when they put their second bid in next week, hopefully they'll go. The sound is that they will go, but you just, as I said, we just don't know this with this Elliott Group as well. People saying Qatar all the way. Let me know in the chat, who do you want? Qatar, hedge fund. Please don't say hedge fund. Because they are awful and they'll stay the Glazers. Basically, say if you want Qatar or Jim. I mean, I don't think anyone wants this minority stake in the Glazers still to be. I think you'd be crazy as well. But a lot of people talking about Gary Lineker. I'm actually confused. What did Gary Lineker do? All over my thing, is that Gary Lineker said apparently something on Twitter, and now he's been sacked from the BBC. I looked at Gary Lineker's Twitter. I can't find a tweet. What tweet has got him sacked? Like, did he, like, I'm assuming by the reaction he said nothing bad, and it's just this weird snowflake woke society that you can't say anything anymore. But apparently Gary Lineker's been sacked from the BBC. I don't know what he's done, but apparently like Ian Wright and Shearer are leaving as well. And I mean, look, I don't know what he said, so I can't like. I don't know if it's over something stupid. I'm assuming it's over something stupid by the reaction on Twitter, but I don't actually know what he said. But what I will say is we just live in a world where I feel like people can say nothing these days. Like, especially like with the BBC, because they are little snowflake wokes where someone could make a joke and they'd sack them. And this is the thing, like if someone is really racist, yes, sack them from TV. If someone is homophobic, sack them from TV. If someone is just outrageously nasty, abusive, just the way that they shouldn't be acting, yes, you sack them from TV. But apparently it was over some kind of political opinion. Like, I don't care if you're all up Labour's arse, and I don't care if you're all up Tories, Conservatives' arse. I don't care what your political opinion is. Apparently, like, he's been sacked for his political opinion. I don't not think you can sack someone for their political opinion unless it was like an extremely racist or homophobic or outrageous opinion. I don't think you can sack someone for their political opinion. Like, everyone's allowed an opinion. Like, doesn't make them a good or bad person as long as the opinion's not absolutely outrageous. And I'm hearing it was some kind of political opinion he got sacked for. But I don't know what it was, but I'm just going to see what you guys say. Everyone's saying that they want Qatar in as well. A lot of people saying, I think Qatar because it's just debt-free, unlike Jim Ratcliffe as well. And I think Gary Lineker has just been suspended and it's just blown out of proportion as well. I tell you what, the BBC, with the way that people are reacting online, I think the BBC will probably beg them back, and he'll probably have to say no. He said that people coming on votes shouldn't be banned from entering the UK or sent back. Is that all he said? Is he actually got sacked for saying something like that? That's just an opinion. Like you know, that's an opinion that a lot of people have. That's not even like a bad, like an awful opinion. Did he actually get sacked for just saying if they come on a boat, like just let them in? Is that it? Like, because the way that probably explains the reaction to why he's been sacked. It's not that deep. I think it's just mad that people get sacked for doing like nothing these days as well. He says the government plans for small boats is similar to what Hitler used to say in the 1930s and all of that. But why have BBC sacked him? Is it because BBC are like government run or something and they don't like that? But did he compare it to? I mean, it probably isn't to the level of Nazi camps, but I don't think it's a sackable offence, is it? I don't think that's a sackable offence. I just think that is just, you know, this generation crying over everything as well. Free speech is out the window. Of course, Piers Morgan's trying to find a way to make it about himself. Oh, this happened to me with ITV and Meghan Markle. Blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, of course, Piers Morgan. I just seen Piers Morgan's Twitter. Of course, he's trying to make it about himself. But I mean, I think that's just silly. I mean, he's a good presenter. Why sack him over a political opinion? You know, I think that this cancel, this woke, this snowflake culture is just pathetic. Like, the amount of things that I see people trying to get cancelled. Like, I see that people were trying to get Hairspray, the musical, cancelled the other day because apparently it's racist, but it's a musical about showing how the Times are racist and raising awareness for racism. And people are trying to get out of TV, and now people are trying to get Gary Lineker off TV for making just a political comment. It's absolutely mad. Absolutely mad. But we'll talk about who's Paul Greaves. Paul Greaves? Who is that? Someone said look at Paul Greaves' post. Is it V Paul Greaves? I don't think. I mean, if that is a Paul Greaves, I don't think. I don't know who you're talking about. It's not coming up on my Twitter, whatever that is. But yeah, we'll talk about that as well. And Steve Simpson's harsh to sack him as well. And yeah. So anyway, continuing on the football front as well, as Daniel said, hate the snowflake hero, literally. It's just, yeah. And I mean, look, I don't actually know what he said. Like, if he said something about the Nazis, then that's not good. But if all his comment was that they shouldn't send people back who come on boats, and that's harmless. But if he's brought the Nazis into it, I get why that's a bit sensitive. But you know, continuing on, because we do want to get to news. Bloomberg saying United isn't worth $1 billion, absolutely ludicrous. we're bigger than any NFL team. Exactly. Maybe it's just an American problem. Oh, Paul Greaves. He said that the new policy for boat crossing is similar to rhetoric by Germans in 1930. That's starting to make a bit more sense. When he said Paul Greaves, I was checking on bloody Twitter. I was so confused there for a second as well. But Alice has done enough waffling. Alice had no idea what Gary Lineker had done, so she just spent 5 minutes of this live stream asking you guys what he's done, and I still don't really know what he's done, but seems to be a bit of an overreaction. But what I do want to talk about is the Glazers going. I do want to talk about news on the takeover. I do want to talk about news on Qatar, this, Qatar, that, boo. So it was said here, the view among minority shareholders in Man United is that the Glazer family cannot afford to own the club and a full sale should go through before June. There's a lot of people saying they believe the full sale of United will happen by June because the Glazers cannot afford to run the club. This is the news coming out, the belief that the Glazers cannot afford to run the club and the full sale could happen before June. This was continued up by saying that basically Qatar are coming in, Jim Ratcliffe coming in, and the Glazers will entertain Qatar and Jim Ratcliffe. And as someone said to me today, if the Glazers weren't thinking about the full sale, they wouldn't be inviting Qatar and Jim Ratcliffe. And the Rain Group have always said the goal has been full sale, not minority stake. When the Glazers set up Rain Group with this mission to sell United, the Glazers went to Rain Group and they said we want the full sale. They didn't say we want the minority stake. And the Rain Group's focus has been on getting the full sale sorted. So the belief is that the Glazers are using this we want to stay, this Elliott Fund group to potentially, one, see how the fans react to see if they could actually stay and do what they want. But two, I think to get more money out of Qatar, get more money out of Jim Ratcliffe and see if they can up the bids because they know that they want to get more and more money for the club. They're greedy. We know the Glazers are greedy. And there's this belief that they're just using this minority stake staying at the club as just a big negotiation tactic to drive up Qatar. And Qatar, and this is the belief in Qatar. There's the belief in Qatar that the Glazers are playing games with them. So those in Qatar have decided to play games back with the Glazers. And it was said by Sky that Qataris will walk away from their bid to buy Manchester United if it's not the right price. And that Sheikh Yassim is ready to buy United at a fair price. It will not be held for ransom. So these are stories coming out because I think the Qatars know that the Glazers could be playing them along. And they're basically like, you know what, we'll give them 5 billion, but 6 billion is outrageous. They just want to milk us. They're faking out these stories to milk us. Qatar are now starting their negotiation game. Qatar are now starting their negotiation tactic of, you know what, let's pretend, let's say that we won't pay over a certain price. This means shit's going on. This means business. When you've got Glazers saying they won't sell, they want the minority stake, and you've got Qatar saying they won't do this and that. It's all the games now. It's all the negotiation tactics. It's all the games. Because Qatar want a good deal and Glazers want a good deal. And Qatar are smart businessmen. And, I don't think that, hopefully they don't stick with the Elliott Group. I think the impact it will have on the stock, the value of the club, the outrage from the fans, I don't think the Glazers can really stick with the Elliott Group. I think it would be stupid to do it. I think it would be financial suicide for the Glazers because even if they do get that investment, they'll need to get further investments down the line. And there might not be a time where they're going to get this much money for United. And, Qatar's could just go and buy someone else in the Premier League as well. And, the growing competition in the Premier League, the Glazers are going to need to spend more and more money. And the belief is the Glazers do not have the money to stay at United, do not have the money to run United. So hopefully, potentially, that can drive them out. And that is the goal, that maybe they're playing around with this minority stake because they want to get more money, because they actually know that they have to sell the club. Because they, yes, the Elliott Group will come in and help with redeveloping Old Trafford and this and that and this and that. But long term, because the club is not at its very top in terms of success, it means the value of the club goes down. And potentially, the reason that they might be considering the minority stake and they might be considering the Elliott Group is because if they get a minority stake in the Elliott Group and then all of a sudden Ten Hag becomes the next Sir Alex Ferguson and we're winning titles, Champions Leagues, then it is sustainable for the Glazers to stay at United. But basically, the only way the Glazers can stay at United is if we are very successful and Ten Hag does so well that the Glazers don't need to spend little money and he's still continually successful like Sir Alex, and then they can absolutely cope with the Elliott Group. But I think Ten Hag will be successful, but the Glazers have got to give him a midfielder, striker and goalkeeper at least this summer if they want him to go to that next level, and you can't trust them to do that or get them the players that they want. So if the Glazers do upset the minority stake and Ten Hag goes tits up and the value goes down, then again they're in financial trouble yet again. And this is why Qatar might need to, this is why the Glazers, might need to look at the full sale. because they're like, you know what, we aren't in position to own United financially if something goes wrong under Ten Hag. We want a minority stake, we want to stay, but we've got to rely on Ten Hag being successful, which might be why they're waiting it out to see how well Ten Hag does this season, see if we finish in the top 4. That is, of course, a possibility. But it's a bit of a position where, luckily for us, it looks like it will be very hard for the Glazers to stay. But we know what the Glazers are like. We know they're awful owners. We know they don't care about United. I wouldn't put it past the Glazers to stay at all. Qatar ownership will bring us back to the top, says Ash. Yash, I agree. I think so. I don't think the Qatari owners have been the best owners of PSG in the sense that they've been a bit reckless. I think giving Mbappe a contract that big was crazy. I think bringing in those Galacticos signings didn't ever work. But one thing you can't have a go at them for is ambition. At the end of the day, I don't think that they've spent money the most wisely at PSG, the Qataris, but they had the ambition to get us to the top. And the big thing is, like this January, there was Gatpo, there was João Felix. And the board let him go to rivals. The owners let him go to rivals, and we ended up without their cost. But if that was Qatari owners, we would have got João Felix and we would have got Gatpo, and Ten Hag could be in an even better position right now. We might have never lost 7-0 to Liverpool because we got Gatpo who never scored the first goal. And maybe if United had gone 1-0 up and not Liverpool, it would have been a completely different game because United weren't bad in the first half. It was the psychology of going 2-0 down that United gave up, and that's why United lost the game, in my opinion. So, there's so many ways you can look at it, but 100%, I think the Glazers need to go because we need owners that are ambitious. I'm not saying that Qatar are the best owners in the world. I'm not saying that they're going to be perfect, but what I do know is they want to clear the debt. They want to build a new stadium. They care about United. They want United to play one. They want United to win trophies. And as a fan of Manchester United, all I want is owners that aren't looking to make money out of the club. I want owners that want to make United the best team in the world again, that want to bring United to the top again as well. Mbappe to United, a dream. If we do get Qatari owners, then Mbappe's most likely destination after PSG would be United or Real Madrid. I think Mbappe will be at PSG for a good another year, but I reckon if we got Qatari owners this summer, next summer, if Manchester United were looking really good in the Premier League, really good in the Champions League, Mbappe could come to United because PSG look lost in the Champions League. I think if we get Qatari owners, even though they're slightly different to PSG's owners, we all know they've got kind of mutual money. I reckon their focus would be on United. We know that the Premier League is the biggest league in Qatar. We know the Premier League is the most watched league in Qatar. We know the Qataris like the Premier League, that they don't care about League One. We know Qatar want United. I generally believe their focus would be on United over PSG. We'd have a good summer this summer, and I think next summer Mbappe would be possible. Whether we want Mbappe or not, that's another question. Do we want someone coming in and that higher wages that's used to having all the power at PSG? Could it be dressing room issues? Could this be another Ronaldo that acts up and causes Ten Hag problems? Might be. But I do think if we got Qatar, it'd be between us and Real Madrid for Mbappe because Real Madrid's his dream, but Real Madrid are frustrated and angry that he signed that new contract and actually said that that's his chance to go to Real Madrid over. However, I think they're just saying that. But obviously, United, Qatar, if Premier League being the best league as well, if United look in a really good position next year, I do think Mbappe to United could be on, which might sound crazy, but I generally believe that, if we have Qatari owners, I do think we could almost sign anyone. We look at PSG, who were a nothing club. PSG were a nothing club before they got took over by Qataris, and now they sign all the biggest names in football because they got the most money. Man United aren't a nothing club, and if PSG can sign the biggest names in football, United can. Even when United have been a dead club the last few years, even though we've been nowhere near our best the last few years, what have Manchester United continued to do? Sign names, sign names, sign names. Continually manage to sign decent name players. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Cristiano Ronaldo. Not all of them worked out, but we got to sign those big name players. And, obviously they're not always a good thing, the big name players, because they do cause problems. They often come with attitude issues, etc., etc. And I tell you what, talking of big name player, Paul Pogba. Are you guys relieved we sold Paul Pogba? Because I do sit there and think Paul Pogba next to Casemiro would have been perfect. A Pogba, Casemiro, Bruno midfield three, I think would have been absolutely fantastic. And I thought Pogba was a player, and I thought that we never built a team around him. However, Pogba's injury record, he would have only just come back from injury last month, which would have been really frustrating. But also the fact that he's been turning up to Juventus training late, etc., etc. Have United done a blessing in disguise of getting rid of Pogba? Do we want someone like Mbappe that could be like Pogba? It's a big attitude in the dressing room. That's always the question as well. But I do think Mbappe will be at PSG another year. PSG went out the Champions League, didn't they? Because Bayern beat them as well. Is the screen blurred or is it all right now? I do apologise if the screen is blurred. Just let me know what it's like as well. But yeah, someone said Alice, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. True. And Alice, I think this will be done directly from PSG. I don't actually think we're going to get Mbappe, but next season I think it's possible. The Rain Group told the Glazers not to sell for less than 10 times the revenue, which is 6 billion. Newcastle were told at 2 times the revenue at 400 million, and Chelsea were told at 5 times the revenue at 2.5 billion. That's interesting fact there. And I do think that they'll agree to sell for about 5 billion. I do think they'll agree to sell for 5 billion. I don't think they'll get 6 billion. I think Qatar will up their bid by a couple hundred million. They'll agree to sell. Yeah, says Pogba's toxic. Glad we got rid of him. Streamer's okay. I was just being trolled. And without massive wealth, United will be a mid-table club forever. Well, we're not a mid-table club. We'll be fighting for top 4 club with the Glazers stay. We're not a mid-table club. We've not been a mid-table club. But but we will be a fighting for top 4 club, which we don't want to be if the Glazers stay, because that's what we've been since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. We want to be a fighting for title club. Continuing on with this story, because I do want to get into the transfer news as well. I do want to get into some other stories, people. But continuing on with this story, it was also said general acceptance that whoever buys United will have to overpay, but that doesn't mean Sheikh Yassin will be reckless. So the general acceptance is from Qatar, they know they're going to have to overpay, but if the Glazers ask for anything ridiculous, they're just going to be like, fuck off. Like, they'll happily pay a bit for United. They'll up their bids. They know that they might have to overplay, but they're not here to mess around. And it was said new. Sheikh Yassin has been offered other clubs in the past, but he only has ever been 100% interested in buying United. And he's only interested in buying 100% of the club. He has zero interest in minority investments. Because we know, ideally, the Glazers just want Qatar to come with a minority investment. But it's being said that Qatar, they only want United, and they want the whole club as well. And the story by Sky Sports that came out yesterday also finished off by saying that Sheikh Yassin does not want Man United at all costs. He said he will not be manipulated into bidding against himself. Sheikh Yassin is said to share the same investment philosophy as his father. And this is smart, because I think Sheikh Yassin is sitting there, hearing all these stories the Glazers release about not wanting to sell the club and accepting a minority stake. And I think Sheikh Yassin is going, they're doing that because they know I have more money and they know I could bid a lot higher and they know I want the club. I think Sheikh Yassin is like, I will overpay for the club, but I'm not going to give them crazy amount of money. I might give them 5.5 billion, but I'm not going to give them the 6 billion they want, because I'll be bidding against myself. Sergeant Ratcliffe can't pay that much. Do they actually want this hedge fund group? Because realistically, they might have to sell the club anyway. And are they just using that to up Qatar? And Qatar are thinking about it. Like, Qatar know they can beat Sergeant Ratcliffe and that he can't go above 4.5 billion. So they know that, there's no point in them going a billion over Sergeant Ratcliffe's bid. It's the only, bidding against themselves. But they also know that the Glazers could be playing a massive game about this minority stake and have to sell the club as well. So they're almost like, they don't want to overpay. They don't want to give into the Glazers game, which is smart from Qatar, because the Glazers are playing games as well. Daniel says, Alice's army. Time for Daniel to say, please smash the like button. So yeah, please do smash the like button as well. And the J in Yassim is pronounced J. So is it Jassim? Jassim, Hassim, Jassim. I'm shit with names. I'm shit with names as well. And I just don't get it. And Newcastle, Liverpool, Chelsea will all be back next year in the competition, and the Premier League is getting harder and harder. Yeah, but Newcastle coming in with new rich owners, the money Chelsea have, the money Man City have. Liverpool, I know the owners are staying, but they've got good players. Arsenal on the up. I mean, yeah, there's so much competition in the Premier League that United's owners need to get sorted. Because if the Glazers stay, they're going to have to invest. And this is another reason why the Glazers might not be able to accept that minority stake. Because yes, the hedge fund can give them the money to redevelop Old Trafford, la-di-la-di-la. But the Glazers are still going to have to spend a lot every single summer to keep United where they need to be, to keep United up with rivals. And I don't know if the Glazers will do that. I don't know if the Glazers will spend every summer. Steve says, Alice, do you genuinely believe we will get sold? Honestly, I think these leechers see Erik Ten Hag bringing good times back, more money in their wallet, so no need to sell. And Steve, I do worry that what you're saying is correct. I do worry that, but I do think we're in a position where the Glazers, it'd be better for the Glazers to sell, because United is not making the money it used to. It would be a risk to hope that Ten Hag is successful, and I think he will be successful. I think that it's a negotiation tactic from the Glazers to get more money from Qatar, because they know that Qatar could give them a lot more money, because they know Qatar is crazy rich. And I think it's all a big negotiation tactic from the Glazers to get Qatar, and I think that they will go, but I'm 70-30. I'm 30% they stay, I'm 70% that the Glazers go, because you just don't know with them. I think everything we're getting told in the Rain Group and what the insiders are saying are very much indicating it's just a negotiation game from the Glazers to get more money out of Qatar. United will be sold, Qatar will get United. You know, that is the news going around the insiders. But again, as we said as a fan base, we can't trust the Glazers. We can't trust their intention. You know, we know Joe and Abraham, they're a little dodgy as well. So 100%. Jassim is in Jonathan. So Sheikh Jassim. Is it Sheikh Jassim as well? And Chelsea can't spend any more money with the FFP in place. What is Chelsea's FFP looking like? Because they've obviously done it with long contracts to reduce it. But is it catching up to them now, this FFP thing as well? Because they've obviously used contracts to get around it. I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea went to spend a lot in the summer anyway as well. Still a strong team away to Betis, but if you get a couple goals, they can take players off and rest the players for the next league game, 100%. And I wanted to look quickly. I will get back into the transfer news, but I wanted to look at the upcoming league games that we've got and how we rest, etc., etc., etc. So first of all, let me zoom in a little bit there. So as you can see, Manchester United, we don't want that to screw up. Manchester United beat Real Betis 4-1. So that means when we go and play Real Betis on the 16th, we could be a little bit more, we could rotate a bit more. But this Brighton game is postponed, which is interesting because we've now got the FA Cup quarterfinals. Fulham's a difficult game. So if I'm United, we play a strong team versus Southampton because we need to get that 3 points in the Premier League, even though Southampton aren't at the best. I think we play the reserve team versus Real Betis because I can't see them scoring 3 past us, even if we have Maguire and Lindelof. And that means that we go into the FA Cup quarterfinals against Fulham, which is a very difficult game, but with a stronger team. Because if we beat Fulham, we're in the semi-final. When you're in the semi-final, you're a game away from the final, you're a game away from winning. You get what I mean? So I always think, go strong squad against Fulham, and then we've got a break until Newcastle. So for me, strong squad against Southampton, then rest them against Betis. I think that's one. Then Fulham, and then you've got a period of rest. You've got the international break, and then we've got difficult games. Newcastle, Brentford, Everton, all in the space of a week. All in the space of 6 days. Newcastle, Brentford, Everton. Newcastle's difficult, and that could be a 6-pointer in the race for top 4. Brentford, we saw what they did to us earlier in the season. And Everton always give us a difficult game. Forest, we should beat. Chelsea, Spurs will be difficult. Chelsea is starting to get good. Knowing our luck, we play Chelsea, they start playing well. Spurs, that'll be a 6-pointer. Villa gives us a difficult game. West Ham, I think, will win. Wolves will give us a difficult game. Bournemouth, I think, will win. And Fulham, last game of the season, could be a difficult game. So United have got a lot of difficult games coming up. So they do need to be a little careful on that front. But the way I see it is strong squad versus Southampton, rest for Betis. So we've got a good squad there for that FA Cup game against Fulham. But I mean, look, I want to get into something actually Ten Hag said. I want to get into something Ten Hag said. So Ten Hag actually said, he spoke about the Leicester game, he spoke about the Newcastle game, and he spoke about the West Ham game. And he said that he wasn't actually happy with the win against Leicester, the win against Newcastle, the win against West Ham, and thought that we were getting away with being a bit sloppy. And he actually said that maybe we needed a loss against Liverpool to give us the kick up the arse we need, which I thought was a really interesting comment by Erik Ten Hag there as well. Daniel says, smash the like button. Let's go for 60k. Yes, so close to 60,000 subscribers, so do subscribe if you're new. 3 goal cushion rest is nice. Rest Rashford, start Palestri, 100%. I'd like to see like a nice front three of literally Palestri, Garnacho, and whoever. Literally just a nice chill front three as well. Who do we play in the league after Southampton? It will be it was meant to be Brighton, but that's been postponed, so it'll probably be Newcastle after the international break. Basically, we've got Southampton, and then we won't play another Premier League game for a good 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks, which isn't too bad, to be fair, because we've got time to somewhat rest as well. We cannot risk a reserve team against Real Betis. I mean, I wouldn't say I'd go fully reserved. Against Real Betis, it would be De Gea, it would probably be Wan-Bissaka, it would be Lindelof, Maguire, Malacia. Probably I'd go with Sabitzer and McTominay and Bruno, and then Palestri, Sancho, Garnacho. It would still be a strong team because I don't think that team loses 3-0 to Betis. But it wouldn't be an awful team, but it'd be very much like, let's rest the Casemiro, let's rest the Sandro Martinez, let's rest the Rashford, because they're going to be significantly important going into the other games of the season as well. United need to get Goncalo Ramos. Now, he is a baller. He is on the list. Now, I actually wanted to talk about this because obviously we know Manchester United wants a striker. We know Manchester United are interested in signing a striker. And reportedly, Ten Hag is given over to Manchester United the strikers that he wants the most. And that Harry Kane, of all people, is actually the striker that is top of Erik Ten Hag's list. Harry Kane is Ten Hag's #1 striker choice, followed by Victor Osimhen, followed by Goncalo Ramos. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes as well. Cass says, take care, look after Alice. And I thought the score didn't matter. What do you mean you think the score didn't matter? We won 4-1 against Real Betis. We've got a 3-goal cushion. The score does matter. And that United needs a number 9 who can run fast like Osimhen and a creative midfielder. An upgrade on Eriksen. Kane is good, but he's a bit old. United need to build like Arsenal and young players. I think Kane would be very good, but I understand why people like the idea of the youth kind of young Arsenal rebuild. But I do think Kane is an established striker that for 2-3 seasons would be brilliant. Yes, says Pellistri is a great talent. He deserves more game time. Smash that like button if you agree with me that Pellistri deserves more game time. He looks like a great young talent as well. And Alice, do you think we need a new goalkeeper in the summer? I think, yeah. I think if David Raya is available for 15 million and Ten Hag wants him, I think get him, because even if he's not that good, you've still got De Gea at the club, who we know is a good shot stopper, but maybe that gives De Gea the competition to like improve with his feet and do better with his feet. So yes, I agree with that. But I wanted to get into some things that Ten Hag said, because it really represents Ten Hag's sort of mentality. The kind of owner he is, like I'm here to win at all costs, proper mentality, which is what I love about Ten Hag. So it was said, let me check that there's no news. Is there any news coming out as well? So yeah. Okay, so it was said here. This is by Ten Hag, and I thought this really sums up his personality. I wasn't happy with the performance against Newcastle and Leicester. Sometimes it takes a bad result to open eyes. We beat Leicester 3-0, and we beat Newcastle to win the Carabao Cup. And Ten Hag is saying he's not happy with that performance. Ten Hag is saying he's not happy with that performance because Ten Hag is perfectionist. Yes, we win, and the 3 points is the most important thing. But when we win games, Ten Hag wants to win games where he says, you know what, we deserve to win. We played really well. We won those games, and it was good wins. But as said, we weren't amazing. We didn't play this amazing football. We were amazing in the second half versus Leicester, but not in the first. And Ten Hag knows that if you want to be a real team, you've got to play well and win. If we win and we don't play well, Ten Hag's not going to go, look, you won, la-di-la-li-la, because Ten Hag's like, you're not playing well for a reason. You've let your standards drop, but you've got the win, so you think it's fine. And Ten Hag said, maybe we need this bad result to open everyone's eyes that the last 3 or 4 games, we haven't been at our best. We've got to be good, because they're not just about 3 points. It's about playing well. It's about being at our best. And Ten Hag is spot on with a lot of that as well. Yes, says De Jong doesn't want to leave Barca. Look, we will talk about Frankie De Jong in a bit, but the Frankie De Jong situation is annoying because he doesn't want to leave Barca, but he might have to leave Barca. I think the Frankie De Jong situation depends on if Barca push him out. I think this year, if we get top 4 with Casemiro, with the appeal of United, we would get De Jong if Barca push him out. But I've always said I think it's dependent on if Barca push him out as well. And Kane is too old and slow for United. If Ten Hag wants Kane, I want Kane. I agree with what Ten Hag wants, because I believe that we should get the player Ten Hag wants. And Ten Hag's number 1 striker target is, of course, Harry Kane. De Gea is a big problem for Ten Hag. I'm going to do a poll, actually. I'm going to do a poll because I'm interesting to see, because I do really like De Gea. He's a fantastic shot stopper. Saved us in so many games. But the way Ten Hag wants to play out from the back, he wants players that are good with their feet. And De Gea doesn't offer that. So I'm going to start a poll, and I'm going to say goalkeeper next season. And I'm going to ask you guys if you want De Gea or someone new, like Raya, Diogo Costa, someone new in net. So I'm interested to see. There's Managan, there's loads of people, So please do vote in the poll. Let me know if you want De Gea or not. But his distribution was very poor. De Gea's had games where he's come off his line, his distribution's been good. I'm like, oh, maybe he's improving. Then he has a game like that, and I go, no, his distribution is poor. And De Gea could have cost us. We could have gone 2-1 down at one point because De Gea's passing was poor. And I like De Gea. He's a short stopper. I appreciate what he's done. He's saved us a lot. But his distribution, if we want to play out from the back, if we want to play out from the back quick, if we want to play the way Ten Hag wants to play, I think you need to look elsewhere from De Gea. And I recognise he's been a good servant for the club, but I think it's the way that Ten Hag wants to play. I don't think De Gea can do that. And when David Raya is available for 15 million, I just think that's what we need to do, in my opinion. So do vote in the poll and do let me know your thoughts on that as well. Alice, before I go, would you get rid of De Gea next season? I keep him, and I bring in David Raya for 15 million. And the reason I do that is I don't think goalkeepers are priority enough of a position to spend 56 million on a keeper. I still think De Gea could do a good job. And it's really hard to replace a goalkeeper. So let's say we sign David Raya and he doesn't do that well. Well, at least we've got De Gea there. And if I think you sign David Raya, you've got someone Ten Hag wants. You want someone that's good with their feet, but you've also got De Gea there as good competition, and you sell Henderson. And if David Raya doesn't work, you've got De Gea to see where he goes in as well. So personally, myself, I wouldn't sell De Gea. I'd keep him, but I'd sign David Raya on top, £15 million player. to see how it does. That's my personal opinion. But let me know yours, because I think everyone has quite mixed opinions. Obviously, De Gea is a good player, but I think it's the way that we want to play, the way we want to move forward. It is probably like you're sitting there thinking, you know what, we probably have to sell David De Gea if we want to do that. And I think, Ten Hag spoke about De Gea actually, and Ten Hag wasn't happy. Ten Hag literally said De Gea's distribution was crap. And Fabrizio Romano said that United are literally looking at David Raya. And this is what Ten Hag said. He said, on De Gea's distribution, I can't ignore it, but I think we've seen many games where he's done well. And this is a fair comment from Ten Hag, because you know what? This season in general, I felt that De Gea's distribution had improved. I have been saying, you know what, I think De Gea's got a lot better come off his line. His distribution's improved this season. And I did see progress in De Gea. And then he had that game, yesterday where it was absolutely dreadful, where I'm like, you know what, his distribution's just not going to ever be good enough, is it? However, it was decent in other games, but it was just so bad that I think, the way that Ten Hag wants to move, I do think if Ten Hag wants to be where he wants to be, he needs that Diogo Costa, David Raya-like goalkeeper. He needs that Frankie de Jong-esque midfielder, and he needs that Osimhen kind of striker. Potentially Kane for 1 or 2 years if we can't get Osimhen, because he'll be ridiculously overpriced. But the feeling is coming out that Osimhen wants a United move. The feeling coming out is that Osimhen is really interested and would like a United move. We know that Victor Osimhen, the 3 teams in for him are reportedly Chelsea, Manchester United and PSG. And his dream is the Premier League, so it's between United and Chelsea. And United could get top 4, Chelsea won't. We also know reportedly he's a Nigerian fan, good friends with Ighalo. There's actually the belief that Victor Osimhen's dream move is United. If United finish in the top 4, if United look like they're doing well under Ten Hag, it's reported that Victor Osimhen's dream could be United, which would be amazing because he is the most informed striker in the world right now. Imagine Victor Osimhen, Rashford, and potentially I think Anthony would get better with a constant striker. Wow. And the only worry about Victor Osimhen is potentially very overpriced, not Premier League proven, and slightly injury prone. Whereas Harry Kane is Premier League proven, and because he's got 1 year left on his contract, I think he will be overpriced, but it will be like a price that isn't ridiculously overpriced, because I don't think Daniel Levy will want to lose him for free. The thing is, it's a difficult one because I think I think Harry Kane will be just as difficult to get as Victor Osimhen, because I do think the Spurs will play him around like they did with Manchester City and not want to sell him as well. And Osimhen and Kudus would be mega, exactly. And Adam says the Anthony goal last night. Smash a like for that Anthony goal last night. What a fantastic goal. What a fantastic goal. And Marky Mark says Casado's a great option. Yeah, if I was Manchester United, I'd 100% be looking at people like Moises Caicedo. I think he's an absolute baller. But I want to talk about what I think Manchester United should do next season and who we should sign, because we're going to look at the squad and we're going to just see where the weak points are. Because I think we all know that Ten Hag needs a striker. So I think this will be Osimhen / Kane. I think they're the 2 players that Ten Hag wants. And then as backup, I guess you've got Martial, and then probably Rashi can play as backup if need be. It is reported that we'll sell Martial, but I think we'll still have 2 strikers at the club. Right wing options, we've got Anthony, who I believe will be the first choice right wing, but I'm going to put Anthony / Sancho, and then I'm going to put Ahmad / Pellistri in there to just highlight where I think we've got a good depth or not of like next season. Left wing options, we've got Rashford, and then we've obviously got Sancho and Garnacho that can also play there as well. And then cam option it's going to be Bruno. But I do think if we get a CM in, you've got Eriksen, I think Donny will go, and potentially Sancho again. So I do think, you add Osimhen or Kane to that front line, and I do think that United have got a potentially very good front line there. If you had like Osimhen or Kane, I do think that's a front line capable of scoring goals. The question is depth, because McTominay is probably going to go, and we've got Casemiro, and then I guess you would want someone like De Jong, and I guess you'd have Fred / Eriksen here, which is what the plan is. But I think 100%, we top with someone like De Jong. We need to get someone here. We need to get some 15 million South American player. When I say De Jong, I don't think we're going to get De Jong, but I'm just going to put that there as I'm going to put JB for Jude Bellingham as well, just because that's who Ten Hag wants. Again, not saying we're going to get them, but just an idea of who Ten Hag wants. Obviously, left back, we've got the depth there, and Shaw and Malacia. It's reported that Maguire's likely to leave in the summer and be sold. We've got Martinez, and then we'll just put Shaw / Lindelof in here, because Lindelof can always be like backup, and so can Shaw. We've got Varane, and then potentially Ten Hag's interested in someone like Timber, bringing back someone like Timber. And then the question is here, it seems that Dalot is still Ten Hag's favourite, despite I think Wan-Bissaka being brilliant. And then you could say maybe something like Raya for 15 million. and David De Gea. So Timber would cost you 30 million, Raya would cost you 15 million. That takes you to 45. United tax round it's 50 million. De Jong's an 80 million signing, so that takes you to 130 million. And Osimhen takes you to about 230 million. And then, a little CDM from South America takes you to about 250 million pounds spent. But then it's 150 million pounds United would have to spend to have this team. But then they'd make 100 million in sales if they sold Maguire, McTominay, Dean Henderson, Telles, Bailly, etc. And I do think that is a team there, showing the depth, showing what we've got, that is capable of, I think, doing something under Ten Hag. I really do. Obviously, I'm going to narrow it down a little bit here. Let's say if we do get Osimhen instead of Kane, that would be brilliant. If we do, I'm not saying we're going to, before people comment, I'm not saying we are going to land De Jong. I'm not saying United are going to sign De Jong. I'm not saying that at all. I don't know if we'll get De Jong. I don't know if we'll get Osimhen. I'm doing that. This isn't the most realistic thing because I don't know if we're going to get these players. But what I'm saying is I do think that is a really good team that Ten Hag could do something special with. Dusan Vlahovic, I like him, but the reason I don't talk about Dusan Vlahovic that much is because United aren't linked to him to the level we've been linked to Kane, Osimhen and Goncalo Ramos. Alice, which do you think will get us new owners? I'm 70% Qatar, 30% Glazers stay. I don't think we'll get Jim Ratcliffe. That's my opinion as well. And Saeed says United need a new number 9 CM and maybe a right wing and right back. David Raya might go to Spurs because they need a Lloris replacement, which is a good comment as well. And Kudus isn't even a starter at Ajax sometimes. I like Kudus. Ten Hag likes Kudus. I'm a fan of Kudus, but I think there's better fish in the sea as well. Would Kane suit Ten Hag's system, says Paul? I believe that Kane would suit Ten Hag's system. I really do. I think that, Huntelaar did, Sebastian Haller did. I do think Kane's a very good player. He's got the second most goals in the Premier League after Haaland this season. Can create play without getting loads of, service. Tottenham play dead football. Kane doesn't get much service, but he still scores goals. He's done it under Mourinho, Conte, Nuno, all these shit managers. Kane's done it under. I think he can absolutely do it under Ten Hag. I think Kane would be really, really good for United. I really do. I think that he'll be injury prone. I think he'll be overpriced. And I think after 3 years, we'll need someone else. But I do think Kane would be a solid striker for United. I think he's a good player. United need centre-back Kim Min-jae. I really do like Kim Min-jae and his release clause. But apparently, according to sources, that Ten Hag's really focused on Timber. I would be a bit worried about Timber coming just because he's small like Martinez. Not that height matters, because Martinez has proved that height doesn't matter. But I don't know if I'd want 2 small centre-backs just in case as well. But to take that verdict, United, absolutely. I still think there's a baller there. I know he's had a bit of an off-season. And we're on 140 likes, guys. So let's push for 200 likes. Please do make sure you smash that like button as well. And make sure Luke Shaw back up to Leacher and get a world-class left-back. Well, I do think Luke Shaw on his days a world-class left-back. I just thought it was crap versus Liverpool. And did you see Lisandro Martinez dribbles yesterday? I feel confident when he has the ball under press. Yeah. You know what? I'm at the point where if something happens to Casemiro, I'd play Lisandro Martinez DM. Lisandro Martinez on the ball is absolutely fantastic. He's absolutely brilliant. The way he brings the ball up. I have to say that as well. He got the ball and he was under so much pressure and I thought he was going to lose the ball like everyone else would, but I was like, no, he's not going to lose the ball. He's doing well. It was said breaking, the Glazer family are now targeting the full sale of United before the transfer window opens in June. Guys, we've just got some breaking news coming in on Twitter from a good reliable source in James Ducker that the Glazer family are targeting the full sale. James Ducker saying the goal of United is the full sale. That's news that's just come out now. Another source saying that Glazers want full sale, not partial sale as well. And high-ranking officials from the US hedge fund Elliott Group are understood to have met with the counterparts from Rain on Thursday. But there's the belief that the Glazers want the full sale and they want the full sale by June. And the sources with knowledge of the process claim that there's at least 4 parties interested in buying United, although Sheikh Yassim and Ratcliffe are the only ones that's gone public. So potentially there's another 4th party involved that we don't know if that's full sale or partial state. There could be competition to Qatar campaign as well. But the interesting thing is that the Glazers are now targeting the full sale before the transfer window opens in June. If they decide to sell the club, the original aim was to strike a deal in the first quarter, but it looks unlikely. But it's apparently said that the Glazers are targeting the full sale, which is a news coming out as well, and that TeamViewer will remain as United's shirt sponsor next season, which is very interesting there as well. I don't know what that means, but hopefully that means good things as well. Casado would be a great option, but he'll be slightly overpriced, especially now he signed that new contract at Brighton. They'll definitely charge a fortune for him right now to get money. And Qatar has wanted owners. I hope we get Qatar over the Glazers staying, and I think we will. But again, I said I'm 70-30. I'm sure Ten Hag does not want Kane. It's not like him The club have been after him for years, and now they're trying to add Ten Hag's name, saying he wants him. I do believe Ten Hag wants Kane. I think Ten Hag's watched Kane, he wants him, and I think that Kane is very similar to the profile of striker Ten Hag in Europe. A lot of people think that Ten Hag wants a selectable, fun, fast, young striker. Ten Hag likes a player like Kane. I would like to see Kim and Jay. People sent Osimhen all the way. Can Kane do a bicycle kick? Probably as well, but Lisandro Martinez's dribbling ability is absolutely unreal, isn't it, as well? Absolutely unreal. But the belief is that the Glazers might, coming in from sources today, that the Glazers are targeting the full sale and might need to do the full sale. Mbappe or Osimhen? I take Osimhen over Mbappe, which people will call me crazy for, but we need an out-and-out striker. That's Osimhen. I think Man United, as brilliant as Napoli are this season, I think they're better than us this season. Man United is a step up from Napoli. And I think that Mbappe thinks he's the shit, and I think he could come to United with an ego, whereas Victor Osimhen would come to United like, this is my dream move, whereas killing Mbappe might be like, this ain't Real Madrid as well. If Qatar come in, our new shirt sponsors like to be Qatar Airways, I agree. Frimpong at right back, potentially, United have sent scouts to be looking at Frimpong at right back, and I do think that's a move that Manchester United could potentially do. Guys, please do keep smashing that like button, and of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. If you do want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, and more, make sure you're subscribed, because I go live every single evening on the channel, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest Manchester United news. I do watch-alongs to United games, I do previews, I do short videos, I do the lot on the Alice Talks Football channel. So make sure you're subscribed, so of course you do not miss out on any of that as well. Continuing on, Ten Hag must have picked his players. I think the Ten Hag pick. Do you know what the most important thing is? Okay, I don't care who you want to sign. I don't care who I want to sign. The most important thing is, whether it's Osimhen, whether it's Kane, whether it's Sesko, whether it's Goncalo Ramos, the striker we sign is the striker Ten Hag's gone to the board and said, this is my first choice. That's what I want United to do. That's what I really want United to do as well. Thoughts on Benfica's Rodrigo Macedo? I've not watched him enough, but Benfica look like a solid team. And Kim and Jay is a quality defender, absolutely. Thoughts on Dalot? Think he's class, so is Wan-Bissaka, but who should be starting right back? Right now, I actually think that Wan-Bissaka should be. I thought Dalot was really good before the World Cup. Honestly, one of the best right backs in the league. Really impressed with the Dalot I saw before the World Cup. But I'm with you in the sense of, actually, I think I prefer Wan-Bissaka to play now. I think he's been a lot better. And you know what? We're going to do another poll. 53% of you want De Gea and not bothered in a new goalkeeper. But this might be an even tighter poll. I'm going to ask you guys. Oh, not that. I don't want to say that. I'm going to ask you guys what right back you want. What RB? Because I tell you what, I think Wan-Bissaka as of now has been better than Dalot, but Dalot is more suited to Ten Hag's style. I think Dalot has had a better season. He's dropped off with injuries, but Wan-Bissaka's been great lately. So do vote in the poll and let me know if it's Dalot or Wan-Bissaka. Interesting to see what you say and do as well. If you had 100 million for a striker, who would you sign? Victor Osimhen, but I don't even know if it will get him for 100 million. I think he could be 150 million as well. 5 realistic signings you'd want to see. Well, Victor Osimhen, I do think is actually realistic if we get top 4 and new owners. Victor Osimhen would be like the 100 million big spend. I think Maxim Kakare in midfield could be 30 million. So that's 130 million. David Rice, 15 million. That's 145 million. Julian Timbers, 30 million. Potentially Kim and Jay's 40 million. I'd probably get Kim and Jay. So Kim and Jay, Maxim Kakare and David Raya is going to come to a combined like 80 million. Osimhen's about 100 million. And then one last signing, I'd probably look at Frimpong, 20 million. And that takes us to around 200 million. And then you sell 100 million an ounce, potentially. Don't know if I've done my maths wrong. That would be probably my dream. David Raya, Maxim Kakare, Osimhen, Kim and Jay, and potentially Frimpong or Timber or someone that Ten Hag wants at right back would be my ideal one. Although I say that, I'm happy to have Dalot and Wan-Bissaka at right back next season if it meant that we went to one of the really good, went to the Uruguayan league, the Brazilian league, the Argentinian league, and went, you know what, we're going to stick 15 million on this young DM. That could be the next Casemiro as well. If you had 100 million for a striker, would you sign Osimhen as well? A lot of people saying Wan-Bissaka on current form. Alice, is the Glazers actually going to target a full sale? Well, that's the report coming out that the Glazers might have to do a full sale, and that the full sale is now most likely to happen as well. Dalot, because you have to get the games in to inspire confidence, but really it's up to Erik and the game plan he wants to go with, says Sergio. I do think that Dalot was more suited to Ten Hag's system as well. What about McAllister? I like him, but not enough to want him. A lot of people talking about Frimpong, saying that he's good as well. Frimpong's more of a centre-back. Timber's more of a centre-back. Frimpong's more of a right-back as well. Sneaky D's still says I think we should get McAllister, Kane, and potentially a centre-back that's proven in the Prem as well. I do think striker and centre mid is number 1 and number 2. Number 3 priority is defensive. Number 4 priority is goalkeeper. And number 5 priority is going to be that Casemiro backup. Someone that could come in if something happens to Casemiro. Because the drop-off from Casemiro to McTominay is insane. Maybe a young DM that can learn from Casemiro and take over his job one day. I think that's something that United need to look at. But look, guys, keep smashing the like button. And, of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. And share the video. I think I'm going to wrap up the live stream here. So please do smash the like button. If any news comes out, there will be a video out tomorrow morning or tonight. There could be a video out tonight, you know, so make sure you subscribe for that. Big up, Gaz, only 500 likes away from 60k, proud. Cheers, Gaz, and cheers, chat. Keep voting in the poll. We're on 59,501 subscribers, so 499 to go to hit till we hit 60k, which would be absolutely massive. Evan Ferguson looks really good, doesn't he? So smash the like for Alice. Subscribe if you're new. We're on the road to 60k. I think we need to write about like Malacia, who's young and upcoming, who can learn from the sort of shadow of the start. 100% agree with that comment as well. But yeah. Big up everybody in the chat as well. See you next time and bye.